This video strays a bit from the usual genre of the videos on this channel. However, I consider this story to be so unlikely and incredible that I think it is worth telling. I love a good underdog story in sports, and this is truly one for the ages. I hope that you too enjoy the story and the implausible twists and turns that occur throughout the remarkable saga. James Walter Braddock was born on June 7, 1905, in the Hell's Kitchen neighborhood in New York City. At an early age, his family moved to New Jersey. Jim lived a normal childhood and had a dream of playing football for legendary coach Knute Rockne at Notre Dame. However, he never achieved that goal, as he explained that he had, quote, more brawn than brains, end quote. As he grew up, Jimmy discovered his passion for boxing. He spent a few years fighting in the amateur ranks, and in 1926 he became a professional fighter, winning most of his fights by knockout and building a solid reputation as a boxer. He eventually earned a shot at a light heavyweight championship against Tommy Loren. On July 18, 1929, in Yankee Stadium, Jimmy lost a 15-round decision, missing out on his chance at a coveted light heavyweight title. Not only did he lose the fight, but he fractured his hand, which would greatly hamper his performance in later fights. His career took a dramatic downturn after the championship fight, and his record sank to 11 wins, 20 losses, and 2 ties. The stock market had crashed, and the Great Depression had begun, and Jimmy was unable to feed his family of 5 on his meager earnings as a fighter. He was forced to retire and try to make ends meet as a longshoreman working on the docks. He was only able to get sporadic work and eventually had to resort to public assistance from the state of New Jersey to provide for his family. In 1934, during a low point in his life, an opportunity arose that put Jim back into the boxing game. A last-minute cancellation by a challenger to a high-profile heavyweight, John Corn Griffin, opened the door for a replacement to fight Griffin. To everyone's surprise, probably including himself, Jim won the fight in a third-round knockout against the heavy favorite. This was supposed to be a one-and-done fight for Jim, but because of his success, he was given another chance to fight, this time against a highly regarded opponent, John Henry Lewis, who would later go on to be a light heavyweight champion. As in the previous bout against Corn Griffin, nobody gave Jim a chance to win, and again he proved the doubters wrong and won a 10-round decision. The boxing world was now paying close attention to James J Braddock and his remarkable comeback. In March 1935, with a vast majority of the country rooting for him, Jim stepped into the ring with Art Lasky, the top heavyweight contender, to challenge champion Max Baer. As usual, he was given no chance of pulling out a win. However, as had now become the pattern, he achieved the impossible, another win. The so-called experts and boxing officials were now confounded. The nobody fighter from North Bergen, New Jersey, the guy whose family could barely afford to eat and who had to rely on government assistance to survive the Depression, had earned the right to fight for a heavyweight championship. The powers that be in boxing could not deny this underdog his ultimate chance. And so the championship bout was scheduled for June 13th, 1935 at Madison Square Garden in New York City. The foe was Max Baer, an accomplished and impressive fighter whose punches were devastating. At the time, Baer was considered the hardest hitter of all time. The fight was a classic, the 10-1 underdog versus the supposedly unbeatable champion. True to form, however, Jim accomplished the unthinkable, a 15-round unanimous decision to become heavyweight champion. After fighting exhibition fights the next 2 years, Jim defended his title against Joe Louis, one of the most decorated fighters of all time. Although he knocked Louis down in the first round, he ultimately lost to the Brown Bomber in an 8-round knockout. Prior to that fight, his manager, Joe Gould, negotiated a deal that would pay Jim 10% of the gross of Joe Louis's fights for the next 10 years. Jim realized over $150,000 for that deal, $2 million in today's money. I think his manager must have been quite shrewd to make that arrangement. Jim fought one more professional fight after the Louis fight, a 10-round victory over Tommy Farr on January 21st, 1938. Wanting to go out on top, he retired after that fight. After retiring from the fight game, he did a stint in the Army, worked as a heavy equipment operator and marine equipment surplus supplier. He helped construct the Verrazano Bridge in the early 1960s. Jim and his wife May lived out their lives in New Jersey. Jim died on November 29, 1974, at age 69, and wife May passed away in 1985. In 2005, a biographical sports drama film called The Cinderella Man, directed by Ron Howard, was released. The name of the movie was taken from a name given to Jim by a New York sports writer during his improbable run to the World Heavyweight Championship. Russell Crowe played Jim, and Renee Zellweger played his wife. Braddock's body is interred in the Mount Carmel Cemetery in Tenafly, New Jersey. Jim was inducted into the Ring Boxing Hall of Fame in 1964, the Hudson County Hall of Fame in 1991, and the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 2001. The James J Braddock North Hudson Park in North Bergen, New Jersey is named in his honor. Jim is remembered as a decent man who always strived to do the right things and put his family first. If you enjoyed this video, give a thumbs up, click on the bell for notifications of future videos, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. As always, thanks for watching.